Hi everyone, today in Integrated Math 1, we're going to go over Chapter 10, Lesson 8. Here are your objectives. Make sure you write them down in your notes. Alright, let's go over one of your postulates, the angle addition postulate, which says the measure of angle ABD plus the measure of DBC is equal to the measure of angle ABC. Think about it in simple terms like you have this piece plus this smaller piece, and when you add them together, you have this large piece. So now let's go over some theorems. The first one we're going to go over is the supplement theorem. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary angles. Remember, linear pair, we're talking about 180 degrees, which is a straight line. So in our case right here, we have the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. Then we have the complement theorem. If the non-common sides of two adjacent angles form a right angle, then the angles are complementary angles. Right angle is 90 degrees, which is shown with this little box here. Always. In this example, we have the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 90 degrees, which is this big piece right here. So the simple way that I remember this one is C comes before S and 90 comes before 180. So a nice little trick so that you don't have to refer to your definitions every single time. Then we have the properties of angle congruence. The first one we have is the reflexive property of congruence. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 1. Think about this one as it's a clone of itself. Then we have the symmetric property of congruence, which says if angle 1 is congruent with angle 2, then angle 2 is congruent with angle 1. Notice what happens here is they simply flip-flop, angle 1 and angle 2. Then we have the transitive property of congruence, which states if angle 1 is congruent with angle 2 and angle 2 is congruent with angle 3, then angle 1 is congruent with angle 3. What happens is the angle 2 that they have in common is now gone. It goes away, leaving us with angle 1 is congruent with angle 3. Then we have the congruent supplements theorem. Angles supplementary to the same angle or congruent angles are congruent. In our case, if the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 form equal 180 degrees, and the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equal 180 degrees, then we know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Think about this one like the transitive property again. What they have in common is the angle 2, and it goes away. Then we have the congruent complements theorem. Angles complementary to the same angle or two congruent angles are congruent. If we have the measure of angle 4 plus the measurement of angle 5 to equal 90 degrees, and angle 5 plus angle 6 to equal 90 degrees as well, then we know angle 4 and angle 6 are congruent. The angle 5, it goes away. Then we have our right angle theorems. So as you see here, we have 5 different ones. Perpendicular lines intersect to form 4 right angles. Remember, if you have perpendicular lines, they're always going to form that 90-degree angle. So there's one here, another one here, another one there, and another one there. The next theorem says all right angles are congruent. Well, they have to be congruent because they're all 90 degrees. therefore making them congruent. Then perpendicular lines form congruent adjacent angles. So in our case, we have angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, angle 3 is congruent to angle 4, and angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. If two angles are congruent and supplementary, then each angle is a right angle. So in our case here, if angle 5 is congruent to angle 6 and 5 is supplementary to angle 6, then they must be right angles, which means they must be 90 degrees. 90 plus 90 is 180, which would help us with our supplementary angles because that would be 180 degrees. If two congruent angles form a linear pair, then they are right angles. So if you have, remember, a linear pair, that's 180 degrees. And they have to be congruent. The only way for them to be congruent is if they are both 90 degrees. And there we go.